Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 4:01 a.m. on this foggy, well, it's not so foggy anymore, but it was foggy earlier this evening. It's misting outside, and it is 41 degrees on this Tuesday evening going into Wednesday morning. And I am like wide awake. I woke up at like 3:15 and I sat there for a second and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna sleep straight through and then wake up at like 8 or 9 and get up and have a full day of getting everything done that I want to get done tomorrow and all this kind of stuff. And I laid there for like 15 minutes trying to go back to bed. And I wasn't tired, and the dogs had to go outside, so I took the dogs outside, and then I was awake, and so I was like, I'm just gonna get up and go vlog now. So what will happen is, I'll vlog, and then I'll be even more awake than I already am, and then I'll listen to some of my audiobook, because I have like an hour, I have an hour and 12 minutes left of my audiobook, and I really want to finish it. So I'll probably finish that tonight, and then I'll go home and I'll crash, but I'll still probably get up early enough tomorrow to get a lot of stuff done. So anyway, how are you guys doing? I had such a fantastic day today. It was just a really, really good day all around, and I felt like I got a lot accomplished today as well. Although I will say, I'm kind of sad. I don't know why. I'm kind of sad about Christmas being over. Like, I've talked about this in videos before, you know, that like the 25th, the 26th, I kind of feel a little down because it's like working all the way up to Christmas. It's not even really that this year. I don't know what it is. I think A, it's that we didn't really have any snow whatsoever, and I kind of associate snow with Christmas. But also, like, I really wanted to enjoy the Christmas lights, not just ours outside on the front patio. I kind of wanted to just see them one time, you know, with all of this snow on the ground, but other people's as well, to see the Christmas light. And now people are taking down their Christmas lights, and I was talking to Tanya about this tonight, because she was like, I've got to take down, what were we talking about? I said something about I wish something, and she goes, I wish somebody would come and take all of my Christmas stuff down at the house in the kennel. And I said, are you ready for it to be down already? And she goes, oh, I was ready for it to be down 2 days ago. I said, Tanya, Jean. And she goes, it's not that I'm not Christmassy. She's like, it's Christmas is over. I'm just ready for the stuff to be down. And so I guess I am too. I'm kind of like sitting on this fence between being ready for Christmas to be over, which it is, and New Year's and everything, and then getting really excited about looking forward to spring and summer. So I have a feeling that that changeover is going to occur this weekend as we have New Year's and things like that. I'm going to keep our Christmas trees up. Well, and that's the other thing is, you know, I put both Christmas trees up this year, and I have little things on the area behind the chair where I film, and I have all kinds of Christmas stuff around the house. And this is, I really haven't done that much in a long time, you know, and I really enjoyed decorating this year for Christmas and all this kind of stuff, and I think I'm just trying to like push it and enjoy it as much as possible. But when I was a kid, we always left, well, my mom and I always left the Christmas stuff up at least through the New Year. So I'll keep it up through the New Year, and then I'll probably take it down New Year's Day or Sunday. I'll probably take it down. So yeah, so and I am really looking forward to spring and summer. I'm really looking forward to going into warmer weather and stuff like that. I mean, we haven't even really had that cold of weather yet. Somebody tweeted me from northern Indiana today, because I said something like, you know, I always tweet out Happy Tuesday, and somebody tweeted me and said, was it today or was it, I think it was today, and said that they were getting snow in northern Indiana. And I know Chicago had snow today. I was like, I wish we were having some snow. I brought my red cup with me, and I brought 2 Diet Cokes, actually. So I'm gonna open this and have some of this. So what did I do today? Well, I got up and did a bunch of stuff around the house. And I had a drama video yesterday that I filmed that I didn't post because it was so late. So I posted it today, middle of the afternoon. And I had wanted to go into this week like posting every single day on all of my channels. But I've just kind of found myself like doing a bunch of stuff around the house and whatever. And also I think my attitude's kind of been like, you know what, I'm just gonna start fresh the new year, and if I post on this channel or that channel, I will come the new year. But tomorrow, I really want to post on all of my channels. I desperately need to put up our BookTube video for the announcement of a true crime book club's book for next month that Mel and I picked. And then I also need to announce the book / possibly books for January for Peter's book club. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do one book or if I'm going to post, or if I'm going to do 2 books for January, because both of the books that I'm looking at, well, here, I'll just tell you what they are. I'm looking at, well, definitely Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion, because Joan Didion just passed away. And I've never completed one of her books, and I've started that, and I'm like a third of the way through, and I really want to finish it. And I think there's probably a lot of other people out there that want to read a Joan Didion book too, or reread Slouching Towards Bethlehem. I know that it's kind of like a lot of people's favorite books. I found that specific book, because I had always heard, you know, about Year of Magical Thinking and things like that, but I found that specific book because Dan Levy did this video of like 10 things he can't live without. And so I was watching this video, and one of them was that he always carries a copy of that book with him. Like, even when he travels, everywhere, he carries a copy of that book with him because he loves it so much. And then when I started reading it, I just was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I started, I think, reading it. It's a book of essays. And so I started reading it late summer, maybe early fall. I don't really remember when I started reading it. But I would read a couple pages here and a couple pages there, and then it just kind of sat on my kitchen counter, and I didn't pick it up. And so I really want to finish it. Also, I've really thought more about reading an Anne Rice novel, and so I looked at Interview with a Vampire on Audible, and it's like 14 hours, and I thought, you know what, I should read an Anne Rice book. You know, I might read it and find that I love it and want to read the rest of the Vampire Chronicles. So if I don't do both books in January, I will do one book in January and one book in February. But I'm really thinking about maybe doing both books. So there's that. And then, well, I can probably say this on here since, I always like try not to say what the books are because I want to keep it a surprise until the BookTube video is up. But the book that we picked for January is, I don't remember what it's called. Mel picked the specific book, but it's a Bonnie and Clyde book. And it's supposed to be like the conclusive Bonnie and Clyde book. And she's been wanting to read a Bonnie and Clyde book for a long time. So, we are reading that in January, which will be really cool. I don't really know much about them, so it'll be interesting reading about that. I do know that when I was at the Zach Bagans Museum in Las Vegas, that like the second room that we went into, where they had a lot of like old frontier kind of stuff, they had several things of Bonnie and Clyde's. I wish I could have taken pictures in there because it would have been so cool to show Mel. But one of the things that they had was the tackle box that Bonnie and Clyde used. I guess they were on the run for like a year or two. And so it was the tackle box and like the lures and stuff like that that they used for fishing that they like ate off. Like, I guess they fished to survive while they were on the run. And they had something else of theirs in there too. I can't remember what it was. But that was kind of, seeing some of that kind of stuff in there was kind of surreal, honestly. And just imagining that it was an actual relic, you know, from something that had happened like that, no matter how gruesome it was. And some of the things in there were really, really gruesome. I think one of the hardest things for me to see in there was actually, there was this guy, I can't remember, I don't know his name, I have no idea what his name is. I actually told Mel I wanted to read this book because they had a book, like, when you walked into the room, like, one of the things that they had in there was, like, this television, and it was running, it was like this old television. The setup of the Zach Bagans Museum is very cool. When I tell this story, somebody will know who I'm talking about in the comment section. Please leave it in the comment section, please. But it was, they had, like, you walked in this room, and then it was like this glass enclosure that was a bed, and they had, like, a mannequin in this bed, and it was, like, this guy that was, like, bound up. And then they had this bookshelf that was, like, glassed in. And it had this, like, old school television that was just, like, running on repeat, this interview. It was like this 1970s television, small television, and it was running this interview with this guy on there. And I don't remember who he was, but I'm almost positive he was from Kansas City. And he, like, tortured and killed, like, 5 or 6 guys, I think gay guys. And he, like, bound them to this bed and, like, tortured them. And there's a book that's out about him. I can see it in my head because on the left-hand side it has, like, 3 pictures of him down, like the, you know, pictures like that they took of him when he was arrested. And then on the right-hand side of the cover is, like, a paperback, said, like, the name of it. And it was kind of a thick paperback. But when I looked it up online, like, I couldn't find anything about it. I mean, I found things about the case, but I couldn't find anything about this book. I want to say it was called, like, Butcher or something. But then that makes me think of Butcher Baker, and we actually read about him, and I think he was from Alaska. I really want to read about the Green River Killer, because Mel already has, so she knows the whole story, but she said she was totally open to reading another book. And I think Anne, oh, what's her name? The one that wrote the book, she's written a lot of true crime books. Stranger Beside Me, Anne Rule. That was the very first book that we read in a true crime book club. But anyway, I think she wrote a book about the Green River Killer. I keep on getting recommended, like, documentaries about the Green River Killer, and I really want to read about that case because I know nothing about that, and I don't want to watch documentaries, and I don't want to know about it until I've read the book about it. Because after I, like, watch a documentary about something, I'm kind of not interested anymore, if that makes sense. Speaking of documentaries, I finished tonight while I was eating Taco Bell. So I went to my meeting with Tanya Jean. I'll talk about that in a second. And then Alex went over to Melissa's for chili because, well, first he went out to dinner with a girlfriend of his, but he just had a salad, he said. And then a girlfriend that he hadn't seen for a while. And then he went to Melissa's because she was doing chili dinner for Aaron's son, who was leaving to go back to college, and this was, like, the only night that they could do it. So I went to my meeting, and then I texted Alex, and he was still over there. He was like, so I was like, should I stop by, or are you leaving? And so I got Taco Bell on the way home, and then I stopped by. Can I just tell you, I got this burrito tonight, you guys, from Taco Bell. I don't even know what it's called. I've never seen it on the menu before, and it's called, like, it says something like a veggie. It's vegetarian. They have, like, the V stuff, like, on the menus now at Taco Bell for the stuff that's vegetarian. But it was called, like, the Veggie Fiesta Burrito. That's what it was called, Fiesta Veggie Burrito, or the Veggie Fiesta Burrito. I don't know. But anyway, it was so good, you guys. It had, like, it's not vegan because it has cheese in it, but it had, like, black beans and cheese and stuff. It was delicious. So anyway, I stopped by Melissa's on the way home, and I was just there for, like, 5-10 minutes, and I talked to them and said hi, and I actually went to Crumble Cookies today to do the Crumble Cookie review, and the line for Crumble Cookies was so long that I was like, this is the second day in a row that I attempted to do a Crumble Cookie review, and I just was like, I can't do it. I can't go in there and wait in that line. So I did a Starbucks review, so I was like, okay, tomorrow I have to. Well, Erin had brought over the Crumble Cookies for this week to Melissa's, so I got to see what they all looked like. I have to say that I wasn't super excited about them this week. They like picked the best ones of 2021. I don't know, maybe they'll be good when I try them, we'll see. But I bought Melissa this cookie cutter from Crumble Cookies, and just, do you ever see something and then like hours later, like it occurs to you like what it was that you saw? Okay, so I bought this cookie cutter for Melissa, and I thought it was literally like a cookie cutter like you make cookies at home. And it's this pink cookie cutter that says Crumble Cookies on it. She wanted this, right? This cookie cutter from Crumble Cookies. So she didn't know that they had them for sale. So I bought it, and for her it was like $5 at Crumble Cookies. They have them for sale there now. Well, on one side, it's like the thing that you hold that says Crumble Cookies on it, and on the other side is this thing that's like this, right? And I was like, how is this a cookie cutter? Like, how do you make, you know, I'm thinking cookie cutter like pumpkin shape, or cookie cutter like, you know, Christmas trees or diamonds, or I don't know, socks or something, you know? I'm like in my head thinking of all these, like, what is going on with this beanbag tonight? In my head, I'm thinking, like, of all of these cookie cutters that my mom had back in the day, and the cookies never ended up turning out like what they were supposed to look like. She always said animals. She had, like, all these animal cookie cutters, and they never, I'm, like, seeing in my head, like, a gazelle, and it never looked like a gazelle, and my mom would get laughing so hard. My mom was, she could not bake to save her life. She could do bread. She was, like, she'd make good bread and good muffins. But like cookies, she could not bake cookies to save her life. And she would admit to it too, because she would always say, I like the burnt ones. So anyway, Melissa had the cookies cut with the cookie cutter. And I was sitting there like looking at the box, and I was like, oh, how did they get it cut so evenly? And then I was thinking about it tonight, as I was thinking about like doing the Crumble Cookie review tomorrow. And I was like thinking of that cookie, that specific cookie. And I was like, oh, that's what the cookie cutter, they cut up the cookie for you into four so that each person can have, I was like, I am so dumb. So anyway, but, so I got my Taco Bell and I went home, and Alex came home, and then he got into bed and stuff. But I watched this documentary, the last part of The Way Down, about Gwen Chamberlain and the Remnant Fellow. It's Remnant. I couldn't think of that word last night. The Remnant Fellowship. Y'all, this place is crazy. Okay? Crazy. And it is such a sad documentary. It is so sad. I don't want to ruin it for anybody if you haven't seen it. But when you get to the third part of this documentary and they start talking about how they discipline children, and there's something horrific that happens in the story, it is so sad, you guys. And the fact that these people hide behind the guise of God and think that what they do is okay is so tragic and sad to me. But so I got on their Instagram page. I wanted to see, because Tanya was like, when I was talking to her about it tonight, I was like, she's watched it, and I, like weeks ago, she was like, oh, I watched it like 2 months ago or a couple weeks ago or something. And I said, I can't believe you never said anything to me about this documentary at the time. I mean, I haven't watched a documentary that like really got to me, and it's been a while. So Tanya was like, she was like, have you got to the third part yet? I was like, no, Tanya, I haven't got to the third. Don't ruin it for me. So she's like, well, you know it's still going on, don't you? And I said, oh, because, so the documentary opens, this is not going to ruin it for you by any means, trust me. The documentary opens with a small plane that had just taken off, like a private plane, crashing into this lake. And the people on the plane, all of them dying. And there were 7 people, and they were all leaders of this church. And so you know that she, like the main leader, she's one of them that dies, but you don't know the other people, so I won't tell you that until the very end. I don't know that would make a difference. I was kind of interested to see who were the other people that died at the end, because I was like, how do they go on from here? Because Tanya told me, she said, you know that church still is going on. Like, you can go down there to Brentwood, Tennessee, and you can, like, be part of this church. So I got on their Instagram. It's interesting being a drama channel looking into some of that stuff sometimes, because I got on their Instagram and they have their comments turned off. Very interesting. They have their comments turned off on certain pictures. Most of the pictures, they have their comments turned off. And then the ones that they do are highly edited. Like, the comments are like, this is the best church in the entire world, praise Jesus. This is the best church in the, or praise God. This is the best church in the entire world. I love you guys so much. You saved my life. There are, like, no, I mean, I thought because of this documentary, the pictures would be spammed with comments like, you guys are freaks or crazy or something like that. But there was none of that. The other thing that's interesting is when you Google search the church and it comes up, it has like a 4.5 star review out of 5. Don't you think that's interesting? They responded to the documentary. If you wait till the very end, it says that, I think it was 2 weeks before the documentary was going to come out, they had asked for a statement when they started filming the documentary. So it was like 2 days or 2 weeks before the documentary came out, the church responded and gave a statement. And this statement was like, there is nothing true. This documentary is defamatory, blah, 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 whatever. And made this whole statement about the documentary as a whole. I was quite blown away by it, though, I have to say. It was tragic and sad. It's always interesting to me, the people that were part of that, and then they're out of it now. And it's like LuLaRoe was the same thing, but, I mean, it wasn't a church, obviously, but the selling of the leggings, and seeing the people that are out of it now, and like how they look back when they talk about it. It's like, I wonder how you justify or rationalize your choices for being part of that back when you were part of it, you know? There was this one woman in the story tonight on the way down. So this is interesting. Okay, so you have to remember this was like a fundamentalist church, or based on fundamentalist principles, right? Fundamentalist Christian principles. And so the leader was a woman, which you almost never see that in a church, right? Like in a fundamentalist church. Which they said, and they talked at length about how that was, you know, strange in its own. Well, she had very strict boundaries for how men and women were supposed to act and how you were supposed to be in your marriage and things like that. And this one woman, her story was so crushing. And she was talking about how this Gwen Chamblin, who was like the leader of this, who she did die in the plane crash, she was the one that started it. She started it with this way down weight loss workshop, which the whole idea behind this, the whole basis around all of this was losing weight through God and stuff like that. So anyway, that was what the statement said too. It said something about like, we are just like any other church in the United States, and we are follow under these guidelines of whatever, I don't know, church guidelines. But anyway, this woman was like telling her story, and she was like, she was never able to get a divorce, even though her husband like continuously like cheated on her over and over and over and over again. And she wanted to get out of it. She wanted to leave the church, and she wanted to leave the marriage, but she was afraid of what they would do to her. And she was, you know, financially tied to the church because she was a piano teacher, and all of the students that she had all came from the church. And that's kind of what they do, is they get people to be like reliant on the church for finances. And then they have like leader mentors that they look to and they like tell all of their issues with, right? And so at one point this woman like reached out to this guy, like, oh no, he called her because her husband told her that he had cheated again. And this was like the 11th year, right, of this going on. And she said to him on the phone, the leader, she said, have him go stay in a hotel for the night. I need some time to think. Like, I'm emotionally not well. Like, I am broken down. Like, I need some time to think. And this guy said to her, he's sitting in front of me. He's extremely, I can't remember what the word was, but like remorseful, but that wasn't the word. And he just wants to come home. Do this as a personal favor to me. Do this as a personal favor to me, he said. So she's like, you wouldn't say no to these leaders, because if you do, you end up in counseling with them, which is like basically emotional torture. And she was like, so she goes, what do you do? She's like, I let my husband come home, slept in the same bed as me, cried my eyes out all night long, you know, and then I got up the next day and put a smile on my face. This one woman had gone to this psych hospital, and like the church wouldn't let her take meds for depression. And so when her husband came to pick her up, well, first of all, the church and her husband basically were like, you betrayed the church by going there and asking for help. I mean, she was like at her wit's end, like really like ready to not be here anymore. And so the hospital had to, so the doctor that she had, or the nurse that she had, was a Christian who also took antidepressants, that told her that she prayed to God, thanking God every day for the antidepressants. And so she started seeing it in a different way. And so when the husband came to pick her up, it took him like 45 minutes to convince her that depression was real. And so he said, I'll let you take the medication, but the only way I'll let you take it is that you never tell the church that I know and I never see it. That way, or that I never see you take the medication, basically. So if the church ever said, did you know she was taking this medication, he can honestly say, I've never seen her take it. And so then, of course, she goes back to church, and the medication's working, and she's better. And they're like, see, you didn't need that medication. And she's like, and the whole time I'm on the medication. I mean, it's just so, it's unbelievable. And then I don't even want to get into, like, the children with all, I mean, it's abusive. They believe in abusive discipline. And a child died as a result of it. And the church took no responsibility. It's just, it's sick. You know, it's a difficult conversation because I don't consider myself a religious person, but I do consider myself a spiritual person. I use the word God because that's just easier for me than saying higher power all the time. And I do believe in God. And I've had that conversation on here many times, so I won't get into a lengthy conversation about that tonight. But you know what's so hard about all this is that it's like, you know, I'm really respectful of people's, like, religious beliefs, and I'm like, do you know? Oh, I thought it stopped. I thought there was, like, a flash. I was like, did it just stop at the 30-minute mark? Because I know I'm close. I'm, like, at 28 minutes and 46 seconds. But anyway, but the thing that's hard about it is that it's, like, I'm respectful of other people's religious beliefs, but at the same time, it's like I'm not supportive of religions that condemn people or are emotionally or physically hurting of other people. I don't believe in that whatsoever. I mean, like an extreme example would be like the West Baptist, you know, Westboro Baptist Church would be an example of that. But these churches, I mean, and there's not a, I don't hear about churches like this on a regular basis. I really don't. that are, you know, like in Indianapolis, there's this church here in town, and I mean, you should see this church, you guys, off the interstate. It is massive. I mean, this church is massive. It looks like a warehouse, like that you'd see at the... It stopped. I knew I was close to the 30-minute mark. This church is massive. I know so many people that go to this church, and they love this church. And Alex's friend, like one of his really, really good friends, she goes to this church, and she's very involved with this church, and all her sisters go to this church, and her family goes to this church and everything, right? I know so many people that go to this church. And so she was showing us like video of the Christmas service, and she was like, it was so inspiring. And it was literally like this, I mean, she showed us video of it. It was like this laser show. Lasers all over the inside of this church. And the guy, the pastor, or the youth pastor or something, was like leading this musical deal, and it was like, go tell it on the mountain, but it was like, go tell it on the mountain, and it was like all these lasers, you know, and people were like, praise Jesus, and all this kind of stuff. And you know, I'm like, that ain't me, okay? I mean, I am like Silent Night in a church, you know, the stained glass windows. That's what I like. Quiet, okay, in a church. That's what I have always, that's how I was raised in a church. That's what I find to be spiritual. But you know what? If other people find something else in a church, more power to you, as long as it is not hurtful of people. And that's my only thing, you know? And I am respectful of other people's, but like, of their religious beliefs. But when I was watching this, I was like, I don't know what I think about all this. Anyway, I do want to say something on here. I got a comment last night, and somebody said, can you tell the Happy Birthday Elena story? Because somebody asked what that was about, and they didn't know what I was talking about or something. Okay, so, you know the hat that I have in drama videos? I think I actually first introduced it in a vlog. So, it's a red and white hat, and it says Happy Birthday Elena on it. Okay. So we were in Las Vegas for Jason's birthday, and we were staying at the Encore. And we were in the pool one day. And we had like a cabana like up. Like we had like these two cabanas next to each other. And then we had two beds down by the pool. And next to us was another party that was like two beds. And it was like tons of people on there all day long. Well, towards the end of the day, I got in the pool. I gotten in the pool earlier than that, but I was like in the pool towards the end of the day. And like 5 or 6 people from our group were kind of sitting by the stairs, and half the people had gone up. The day was like winding down. And so I was in the pool. Well, these people had on these hats, these red and white hats that said Happy Birthday Elena. Like they had all been printed with that hat on there, which, just between you and I love that idea. Okay, I think that's so cute. To have these trucker hats that are all printed with that on there. So, I noticed that on this one day bed, there were like 20 of these hats left. 10 or 20 of these hats left. That were like brand new. And it said Happy Birthday Elena. Well, this one girl was in the pool. She was talking to this guy that had the hat on, but I don't think she had the hat on. So there was this gal sitting on the bed, and she was like, I'm in the pool between the woman that's on the day bed and the woman that's in the pool. I'm like between them, right? Just kind of like floating around. And she goes, Lena, something, I can't remember how it happened, but anyway. And so I looked at this woman, I said, are you Lena? And she goes, yeah. And I go, Happy Birthday, Lena. So anyway, the friend on the bed asked me, I think it was her, I said something about the hats were a really cool idea or whatever. And she was like, do you want one? And I said, seriously? And she was like, yeah. I said, absolutely. Because I just thought it would be hilarious. Which it is. And it has proven to be hilarious to have this hat that says Happy Birthday Elena. And I have had some negative Nancy's that have said, that hat is so stupid. I don't know why you think it is funny. And then, you know what? 1986 wants your sense of humor back, okay? It's funny. It's a funny story, and it's a stupid, silly story. And I think it's great that these people had such a great birthday weekend, and they had all these hats, and just the stupidity of them wearing these hats around all weekend. And I think it's hilarious, and I would love to be part of that, because you know that I would wear that hat proudly if I had been part of that birthday. And just the fact that I'm like in a video wearing this hat when Lena is out there. Somebody knows Lena, you know what I mean? 6 degrees of separation. Somebody knows Lena watches my videos, and they're like, oh my God, that's Lena. You know what I mean? I kind of am surprised I've never gotten that comment actually before, like on my videos. Like, oh my God, I know Lena. I know she was in Vegas for her birthday. I mean, I don't think I'm that popular, but I mean, you know, somebody in town might know Lena at the grocery store or something. Anyway, I just thought it was funny, and I thought they were very nice, and I love any of that kind of stuff. You know, like, back in the day when I would go to the thrift stores, well, forever, like, nobody understood why. I had this keychain, and it was this long glass, it wasn't glass, it was like ceramic keychain, and it said, like, in, like, heavy letters on it, it said Darlene, and it was my keychain forever, and people were always like, why do you have that key? Whose keys are those? And I'm like, Darlene's, and they're like, who's Darlene? And I'm like, oh, she's a friend of mine, you don't know Darlene? And I originally got it because of Darlene from Roseanne. But I love stories to things, right? So anything that would have a story to me, I think this is part of why I love like thrift store shopping, because I feel like some of the stuff in thrift stores, especially more like vintage clothing stores, I mean, there's a difference between like a consignment thrift store and like a vintage store, and I like both, but I feel like vintage stores, there's more of kind of like a history or a story to some of this stuff, right? And I loved back in the day to have like the worker shirts that would say like Teddy on it or Dawn or something, you know what I mean? And it would say like Amico Station. I loved those shirts. I have several of those shirts in my closet, and but like they'd be like vintage ones, you know? And I'd always wonder like, well, who was Teddy or Dawn that wore this shirt every single day, you know? And, you know, make up kind of like a story. And I loved when you would see, like, t-shirts that would, you know, like baseball, like a bowling league shirt, and then it would say, like, Susie Q on the back of it or something, you know? Just to know that there was this Susie Q out there that wore this shirt for a bowling. I don't know, I just always thought it was more fun, you know? Made life a little bit more fun. Okay, I went into this long story about a friend of mine that she and I had like, anyway, we used to go thrift store shopping when we were in high school, so I was telling like this long story about stuff, and I said her name through the whole thing, and I don't think that she would really care, but I just was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back. So anyway, but I had this friend of mine in high school, and I'm gonna try to edit this down to the short part, but we would purposely like try to find those kind of funny things when we would go thrift store shopping, and then we would, this is where it got into the problem, and then we would call each other by those names. We wouldn't call each other by our names. We would call each other by those names of the things that we found. So there's this guy on Instagram that I follow. I don't even know how I found him. He's just kind of like a regular guy. But he goes thrift store shopping all the time. And like his entire apartment is like decorated with thrift store stuff. And like his clothes are all thrift store. He's real cute style. And he actually wears the same hats that I wear. He wears the Gorham Brother hats, of which I did just order one the other day. And I actually ordered the same hat that he had in the picture, and I wanted it so bad, and I got online and I looked. It is so hot in this car all of a sudden, and I looked online and I couldn't find it at Gorham Brothers, and so on eBay they had it for $100, and I'm like, $100, like, when the hats are usually $30. Well, it's like a special edition hat because it has leather on it. So I went to the Gorham Brothers site, and I literally could not find this hat, and then finally it was like at the very bottom, and it was $50, so I ordered it. So I'm excited about that. But he like he'll like do like he'll go to a thrift store and then he'll do like outfit of the days, like 4 of them in a row. And he's real funny too. His like Instagram stories are all like these like just one meme after another. And but anyway, he'll go and he'll he'll find like a planter or to, you know, like something. He just loves to go thrift store shopping. And I forgot how much I really missed thrift store shopping back in the day. Like, I really, really loved it. My first apartment was completely just decorated and outfitted with thrift store stuff, like completely. And, well, not completely. I had Gap posters on the wall when you walked in. But of all of my apartments and places I've lived that I've had, like, people loved that apartment. I mean, people would come in and they would just like be like, oh my God, there's so much to look at. And so you came in and you like walked up the stairs, and then there was like this landing, and then you walked up this other way, and in the landing there was like this huge window, and on the window there was like a windowsill, right? And it was probably about 5-6 feet across, and I had like 30 Barbie dolls sitting there naked with their legs crossed when you like went across, like just all in a row, like the Rockettes when you walk, but they were all like, you know, sitting with their legs crossed, like real classy. And and so, and then you walked upstairs, and I had this is the third bunny rabbit that I have seen running along the fence. That is so funny. And then if you walked upstairs, I had like this director's chair, and I had these Gap posters, and then I had a bookshelf that I have in my basement. It was actually this antique bookshelf that my mom, it's like really a cool bookshelf. I can't remember what she called it back in the day. It's like a certain kind of bookshelf. It has like glass windows, like you pull out the glass window. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like wooden glass bookshelf. So anyway, I had that, and then for a long time, I did not have a couch. I finally got a couch as like, did I get the couch before I got sober? I must have. Yeah, I got the couch before I got sober, and I really, really wanted this couch. It was this cool couch. My dad got it for me for like a birthday or something. But before that, for like my first 2 years in that apartment, I just had 2 black director's chairs. And, do you know what I'm talking about? Like they're called director's chairs anyway. And then I had this little table in between it. And we always just sat on the carpet in my apartment. I had this buffet table that my mom used to have, that like they had cut the legs off of it to make this table. And so I had my TV on it, and I had my stereo and all my CDs next to that, and just candles and all kinds of crap just on top of it. And then to the right of that, I had this makeshift bookshelf that my dad had helped me make out of like bricks and wood. And then in the corner, I had a Papasan chair from Pier 1 that I had at my dad's house. And I had one of those lights hanging over it, you know, one of those, you know, those round lights from Pier 1 back in the day that we all had to have. And the Papasan chair I still have in the basement. And that was a bunch of crap just sitting in it. And then, what else? Oh, and then I found this like in the trash. It was like next to the trash one day, but it was like this in perfect condition bird house. And it was all wood. Like it looked like it was made out of like toothpicks, but it wasn't. But it was really cool. And it was like probably 2 feet long. And so I hung it in the corner, and I had this fake bird in it that I named Sylvia after Sylvia Plath. Don't ask. Anyway, I don't even know the story. I don't even remember the story to that now. And then I had this like behind that, like when you were coming up the stairs, there was like this, like if you were standing up, it would probably come to like right here, was like this long from like the top of the stairs all the way to the window, because there's a window in that corner, was this long like I don't really know how to explain it, like top of the wall, like, you know, just this flat thing, and I just had things on top of there. And one of the things that I had was this pair of black high heels that I gotten at the thrift store. And my old roommate and I would get so drunk, and I would put these heels on, and I'd just do a bunch of high kicks around the apartment, and we would do shows, and she'd put her heels on, and we would act like we were the Rockettes, and and I just kept these heels on that thing all the time. And when anybody came over, I was like, you can put the heels on if you feel like you want to. And And then I had a fireplace, and I had a bunch of wind chimes hanging down over the fireplace. I actually use the fireplace all the time. In the winter, I mean, I must have had fires there all the time. But for the grace of God, I did not burn myself down in that apartment, either by smoking cigarettes and falling asleep, or by leaving the fires going while I was drunk and passing out. I mean, seriously, you guys. I had fires in the fireplace all the time. And I had a bunch of candles and artwork and paintings on the mantle. And then in the corner, then there was a big sliding glass door. And I had all these plants hanging in the window. I had ferns. I had this long plant. I wonder what happened to that plant. You know, I don't remember what. I had this plant that started off as like this little baby plant, and then it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And by the time that I was in that apartment, like, what happened to that plant? I don't even remember. I had names for all my plants too. But by the time that I had it in that window, it was like on the floor. Like it had, like that's how long this plant was. I think maybe I cut some of it to try to like plant it, and didn't work or something like that. I can't remember. Because it was really long. I mean, like 6 feet long, longer. And then in that corner, I had a white drafting table that had been everything I had in my house or in my apartment was hand-me-down or thrift store. And then I had a white drafting table that had been my dad's when he was in his apartment that he used as a desk, and so I used it as a desk. And I actually had this like, I had a cane rocking chair in there as well, in my living room that my mom had given me. I loved that chair. And where is that chair now? Do I have that chair? I think that chair's in my office. Or is it in the basement? I don't know where that is. I'm thinking maybe I had it on the patio and it got ruined by rain, so we ended up throwing it out. But I had like a cane chair that was like a dinner table chair with that. And then I had like the kitchen island or kitchen, you know, thing that went into where my phone was and my answering machine, and then I had 2 bar stools right there, kitchen bar kind of thing, you know. And then I had my kitchen, which was just like this little galley kitchen, and then my bathroom was around the corner. And I was always very proud because I had a clear shower curtain. I was obsessed with these clear shower curtains. Where am I at on time? Let's see. I had these clear shower curtains that I was obsessed with. And I loved them because you could like see through them while you were taking a shower. I used to be very paranoid about somebody coming and killing me in the shower. Oh, you know what is so funny? I just want to say this really quick. Somebody commented the other day and they said when I was getting out of the car, they were like really afraid that somebody was like going to come and get me or something, which I really appreciate you being concerned about that. But let me just tell you that parking lot that I stop in sometimes, like, first of all, there's like nobody there except for that red truck. But second of all, like where I'm parked at that point, like somebody would have to run to my car. Like I would see them run to my car or hear them. So, but thank you for the concern. I appreciate it. So anyway, I loved my bathroom. It was just this little bathroom. And then I had this little pantry outside of there and little coat closet in the hallway. And then my bedroom was massive. It really was. And my dad had made me this platform bed that was really just this long sheet of wood. It was like a futon, but not. It was a long piece of wood, basically on 2 slats like that. And I just had a mattress on it. I had no box springs or anything. I just had a mattress on top of it. And then I had a papasan chair in that corner. You know what? That cane rocker was in that corner. The papasan chair was in the corner of my bedroom. I think when I first moved in there, I didn't have it in the bedroom, and then I brought the cane rocking chair over, and so I had the cane rocking chair in the corner of the living room, and the papasan chair was in the corner in my bedroom because it was right by the window, and I had a light hanging over it as well. Because this guy Jack that I dated, who's since passed away, I have this fantastic picture of him, and he's in that rocking chair in the living room. He's just like sitting there in this like V-neck sweater. Oh, Jack, such a great picture. So yeah, I must have had that Papa San chair in the living room, and then I moved it to my bedroom when I brought the cane rocking chair over. And that was all I had. And then up against, like when you walked in to the left was like this long walk-in closet that was massive. It was such a great closet. I wish I had it today. And then right there in that corner, I think I had a light hanging over that too. I had just this little like dresser thing that had actually been in my dad's office. I have it in my office now, which is so funny. I've had it there forever. And I just kept like my underwear and stuff in there. But on top of that, I had the TV that had this is so weird that I still have some of the stuff, you guys. I mean, this was what, 27 years ago? 30 years ago? Because it was when I turned 18. 31 years ago. So, it had the TV that had the built-in VCR in it, which I have at my office right now. So, like, everything that's at my office, I had in my very first apartment, which is hilarious. Yeah. It was a fun apartment. And then next to my bed, I had another little table that I had the matching table to out in the living room. And I just had like this, I remember I had this red phone on it. And an ashtray, this big ashtray next to the bed. I mean, that was more of like when I was using and stuff. I just can't even like imagine like that back in the day I would wake up and like have a cigarette in bed. I mean, people did you see it in movies back in the day, but... Do you know, I remember when I moved out of that apartment, and I moved out of there into an apartment. At one point, I had this, one of those nets. I loved Pier 1 back, and we all loved Pier 1 back in the day, but me and my friends, we all loved it. But I had one of those nets, you know, those mosquito nets hanging over my bed. Oh my God, my friend / roommate, because she ended up just moving in with me. She and I shared a queen size bed for probably a year and a half, 2 years straight. And it was nothing like that. It was like we were literally just friends. And that was probably some of the happiest drinking years that I had, because I had like a partner that I was drinking with. And I didn't feel like, I mean, I was in relationships. I don't even know how I made it work with her being there. I really don't, honestly. But this one time, we got so, we were so wasted, and we got so tangled up in this mosquito net that we ended up like pulling it down out of the ceiling. God. But you know, when I moved out of that apartment, it was interesting because, you know, I used in that apartment, and that apartment also, I think, perpetuated a lot of my using, because I think that it gave me this freedom that I hadn't had before, that I don't think that I think my drinking and my using would have gotten out of control had I gone to like a college campus. But I don't think it probably would have gotten nearly... I think what would have happened if I went to a college campus is, I think I would have either like gotten so heavy into stuff right away. I really don't think that my story would have been that I would have gone to a college campus and just excelled and like, you know, whatever. I think I would have come out on a college campus, because I came out that summer anyway. And I think I would have been boy crazy, because I was anyway, just being like wanting a boyfriend so bad. And I think that I would have just wanted, I think I just would have fallen into some kind of partying scene. I really do. So I think I would have ended up kind of at the same place either way. I think I would have ended up coming home. I think I would have ended up like failing out of school is probably what would have happened. I honestly don't know how I kept my grades good enough to be able to stay in school without being like kicked out. I really don't, looking back. Because I mean, I do know people that got kicked out of college and stuff, but I think like college campuses were tougher about that stuff, and I was going to a city school, and so they just weren't as, you know, I mean, IUPUI now has a good reputation, but like back then it wasn't like the great, I mean, it wasn't a bad school, but it wasn't like the greatest school in the world, you know? I don't know. But, you know, I used in that apartment so much that when I got sober, like, I struggled being in that apartment because, like, the one regret I have, and I've said this in videos, is that I should have gone to a halfway house. Like, my dad and my doctor really wanted me to. There was only, like, 1 or 2 in town at the time, and I know that the one they wanted me to go to, I think, was at St. Vincent's Stress Center, and I really didn't want to go, and I don't even know, like, what my impression of it was, but I just knew I didn't want to go. But I wish I had, because I was very lonely in that apartment when I first got sober. Like, I had a lot of, like, that was actually a period of time where I really got to know myself. But, you know, like, here's the problem with that, is that I was 22 and a half, going, you know, on 23, going on really 15 years old, like, with the emotional development of a 15-year-old. I just was very fearful of the world, and I don't mean like fearful of like snakes and somebody killing me. Yes, some of that too. But I just was very fearful of the world, and I wasn't grown up. I wasn't mature whatsoever, even though I had put myself in very mature situations that were dangerous and whatnot. And I could have a conversation with, you know, people that were much older than me, and so I thought I was an adult, but the reality was I wasn't. Didn't even try to act like one, and so here I basically was this kid in this apartment by myself, just trying to like piece some recovery together, you know, and not even really knowing what that meant. But then when I got sober for a little bit, like, then that apartment, it meant so much to me because it wasn't just this party central apartment anymore for me. It was the place that I had gotten sober. You know, it was the place that I had read my basic text, and it was the place that, for the first time, and meditation books, and watched recovery movies, and made coffee every morning, and, you know, and when I left there, I had, like, when I moved out of that apartment, I had really mixed feelings about it. I had a lot of feelings of like, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. I don't ever want to come back. And at the same time, I had a lot of fear associated with, more fear than I had before, associated with, well, this is my recovery. What's going to happen when I leave here, you know? I had similar feelings to that when I left working in treatment, because I had worked in treatment since I had been 6 months sober, you know, or 5 months sober or something like that. I started volunteering there. And I was like, I don't know who I am not working for this place that I got sober at, you know, and this place that I've worked at for almost 13 years. Like, I don't know who I am. And I think I know, that was really scary for me. Because what I had seen was, I actually was there a really long time. You know, a lot of people go to treatment programs and they end up working there for like 2 or 3 years and then they leave. The turnaround of treatment programs and halfway houses is very quick. And our team actually had kind of like a long, like all the people that worked on our team worked there for kind of like a long time, like my specific team. That I was on, like, we all kind of worked there for around 10 years. 10 to 15 years, most of us. There's 2 people that are still there, my supervisor and one other person. I think the one other person is there. I've heard that they are, so I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I can remember when I left. But then when we went to our new apartment, which was me and my first boyfriend, and then my friend / my roommate, because she had moved to Kansas to be with her, like, to stay with her grandfather for a while and save some money. And when she moved back, we got this apartment. Oh, she moved back and had moved in with these girls that she was friends with. And then we got an apartment, the 3 of us, and we got a really nice apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment in Fishers, Indiana. And it was cute. They each, I ended up having 3 apartments in the same complex, and they all had private entrances, and they were kind of like condos. And we had a really cute apartment, and you walked upstairs, and we looked out over the street that looked out over the, like, the pool house and stuff, and we had a lot of fun in that apartment together. And, you know, it was, my first boyfriend, he drank, but he didn't really drink a lot. Like, if we went out, he would maybe have a drink or something, but not tons. But, like, our life was kind of like working. He worked 2 jobs, she worked 2 jobs, and I worked a job and was in a master's program. And so we worked a lot, and when we weren't working, we worked out. She worked at Gold's Gym at the time as her part-time job. And so, and then that boyfriend was like really, really into working out. He still is. He has like an incredible body for his, like, well, for his age, I should say. But I mean, he's in great shape. He's always worked out. And I worked out. That was like the best shape I've ever been in. Well, one of the times. And I worked out at the gym that was in our complex. And I can remember I used to go over there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. And I loved it. And we would sit on our patio, and we would go for a swim after so my roommate and I, she and I would get home, you know, like 10 o'clock, 11 in the evening from working. And because I worked second shift at that time, and she closed down the gym. She only worked there a couple hours in the evenings. So we would get home at the same time, and we would go for a swim, and then we would sit on the patio, like, after we came back and put our pajamas on, and we would watch a movie. Oh, before we would watch a movie, we would have to go to the grocery store, because we had like this Kroger grocery store right up the street, and we would go there, and she always had to have something salty and something sweet. So we would get like chips and salsa, and then we would get, what do you call it? Orange slices. I miss her so much sometimes. This is my friend that lives in Berlin. We would watch a movie, and this sounds so weird, but it wasn't. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It sounds weird, but it wasn't. But we would sit there, and like, I would rub her shoulders for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then we would trade places. And this is what we would do while we were watching a movie. And then she would rub my shoulders for 10 or 15 minutes, and we would just go back and forth, and like, one of us would sit on the floor and the other one would sit on the couch. And she gave the best neck rubs ever. Oh my God, I can remember she was like super intense on my neck. And we would just do that like for like an hour and a half watching a movie. She was such a hockey fan. She was such a huge Rangers fan. And I would come in, and she would be watching a Rangers game, and she would have like jean shorts on, and she would have on like a jersey and her hat and everything. She'd have all of her stuff out, and she'd be like screaming at the television. We had a good time. And then the 3 of us decided to get, she was moving. She moved in with, that did not end well. It's kind of a sad story at the end of that. We're fine now. We've talked the last couple years and stuff, but we're fine now. But she ended up moving back to Kansas, and then her story goes in a whole other direction. But and then so my boyfriend and I, we got a 1-bedroom apartment that was on the main floor, and it had this wraparound like front porch, and I was obsessed with it because I thought it was like To Kill a Mockingbird. And my mom actually bought me that glider that summer for my birthday was when I got that glider. And we lived in that apartment a couple more years until we broke up. And then I lived there. Well, I lived there until my last boyfriend, my ex, and I moved into the apartment. God, you know, it's so weird. So then that's the 3rd apartment that I lived in. I moved into that with my last boyfriend, my ex. What is so weird to me is that as I'm telling this story, I'm like my ex or whatever, you know, and Alex and I have been together for 13 years, over 13 years. My ex and I broke up in 2007. So that was 14 years ago that I was in that apartment. I mean, that's a long time, you guys. Like, that's a really, really long time. Like, when I talk about, like, my career working in treatment, I mean, I was there almost 13 years, and January will be 14 years that I've been gone. I've been gone longer than I worked there. And it's just, like, I don't know why, but it's, like, it's taken me this long to, like, even realize that, like, I am so far gone from, like, that part of my life. It's, like, I don't know, it's just so bizarre to me. Like, telling this story, it's like, I can see the apartment that I was in, but, like, it seems like it was a really long time ago that I lived in that apartment with my ex. My last apartment there, before Alex and I moved into the condo. I don't think Alex ever stayed in the apartment. He helped me move stuff out of the apartment, but I don't think he ever stayed there. I wasn't staying there a lot by the time that I met him, because my mom had passed in April. No, April. My mom passed in May. And so my mom passed in May. I had first contacted him in April, and then my mom passed away in May. And we went on our first date in August. And by that point, I was staying in the condo several times a week. And if I went on a date, like, I would have them, like, we would, like, they could pick me up there, or we would go back and have coffee there or something like that. And I honestly didn't really go on a lot of dates. So, because I was in Denver a lot that summer, and I was thinking about moving there. And, that would be so weird. I wonder what my life would be like today if I had moved to Denver. But, I think I made the right, I definitely think I made the right decision by staying here. I was like, I think I made the right decision by staying. No, I know I did. I was actually thinking about, like, Alex and I's first date and coming back to the house. I brought him back to the condo. I don't think he ever stayed at the apartment. By that point, the apartment really made me sad. Like, I didn't like being there. And I had also brought, like, half of the stuff over to the condo. I think I really only stayed there out of convenience. Like, if I was, like, boxing stuff up or packing stuff to move out of the apartment. Because I ended up moving out of there for good in October. I think it was October. Okay, the battery died. And I had to, like, had just turned around, and I was like, I had to come all the way down here, and to be honest with you, I don't really remember what I was talking about now. It was something to do with moving into the condo. Yeah, I don't remember. Like, Alex and I started dating, well, you know, the end of August. I feel like it was sometime in October. I feel like my lease in my apartment was done at the end of October, and so I feel like the month of October I moved into the condo is when I feel like I moved in there at that time. And then Alex, he didn't move in there full time then, but he was staying there, like, a lot, like 5 nights a week. And I don't really honestly remember when. Like I said, why don't you just move in? I mean, we were spending... I think it probably got to the point where he was just staying there every single night that I was like, why don't you just move in? I don't even remember when that was. I do know that we were a one-car family forever, which was pure hell. And, I mean, it wasn't, but, you know, we would get up every morning, and we would stay up late the night before, you know, if we were either going out or, you know, and we were very romantical those first, you know, 2 years of, like, I mean, not that we're not today, but not like it was, you know, and, where we were staying up till, like, all hours of the night and stuff like that. And so we were tired the next day, you know, we would get up, and I would drive him to work, and then I would come home, and I went to work later than, you know, he did. And so, you know, I come home and I take a shower and whatever, and, get ready to go to work. And then after I was done, I would go pick him up. And then we were working out like every day, of most days of the week. We worked out at, what's that place? It's still around. I can't remember what that gym is called, but anyway, it's a chain of gyms. We worked out there, and then we would go have dinner. I remember we used to always go to this place called Bar Louie, I think is what it was called, and they had these chicken Caesar salads that were really, really good. So that must have been later, because when I first met Alex, I was a vegetarian. And that whole thing ended when we were on a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which I think was in September. So that's when that would have stopped. So us going to work out, I want to say it was Lifetime Fitness, but that's not what it was called. I can't remember what this gym is called. Actually, it's right up the street from here where I'm at. The actual gym that we worked out back then. We have had so many gym memberships together. We don't right now, which is funny. But, yeah, and then we would go out to eat afterwards, and then we would come home, and we would watch like a movie or something. We didn't watch a lot of TV shows together back then. Neither one of us watched a lot of TV shows. Like, I can remember, like, Alex would have his TV shows that he watched, and I would have mine, but we didn't have tons. But we would come home and we would watch like a movie, and, you know, take showers and stuff, and then we would go to bed, and we went to bed pretty early back then. I kind of forgot all about that. I mean, we would probably be in bed by 11, you know? And, but we did stay up super late on the weekends. And then, like, on Sundays, we would watch movies in bed and stuff like that, and I don't know when he moved in there full time. I feel like maybe the next spring or summer. I do remember helping him move the stuff in, though, because he had been living in Bloomington, and then he moved to Indianapolis with his mom, and he was kind of staying there intermittently, and then he moved in with me. And I can remember moving his stuff out of his mom's house. Like, I can remember standing there in the closet. He didn't really have tons of stuff. He had, like, clothes and that was, like, kind of it. And some books and stuff like that. And he had also progressively been moving stuff in, like, over time. Like, bringing clothes and leaving them there and stuff like that. I knew real early into dating Alex, like, honest to God, I knew, like, well, on our first date, I knew this is somebody that I wanted to spend time with. I was like, he was interesting to me. He was fun. I hadn't really dated anybody like him. He kept me entertained. He had a good sense of humor. He asked me a lot of questions, which was interesting because most of the guys that I went on dates with and all of that never really asked me a lot about me. And we just had a fantastic first day. I mean, like, to this day, Alex will tell you it was like the best first date he ever had with anybody. And it really was. Like, I mean, it just was easy. It was super easy. And I didn't want to go. Like, I canceled like 2 dates previous to that. But I can remember sitting there at that date, and I just was like, it's funny because he can remember afterwards that we went and got Starbucks coffee and like drove around and talked for a little bit, which is so totally something I would do, you know? But like, I don't really remember that, honestly. I don't remember like driving around and talking and drinking Starbucks coffee, but we must have. And then we came back to the condo. But I can tell you that within 2 weeks, probably by the end of 2 weeks, I told him I was falling in love with him. I could feel it. Like, I know that with somebody very quickly. You know, one of the things that drives me crazy, and I know that people have very serious feelings about this and whatever, and this is just my personal opinion, but like, and he even said this to me at the time, something to that degree of like, oh, I don't tell somebody I love them until I've been with them for a year. I just think that that's such kind of like horse crap, honestly. Like, oh, write it exactly at a year, I know that. Or, you know, it takes me being with somebody for a year to kind of like know whether or not my feelings are real or whatever. I don't buy that. I develop feelings for people pretty quickly. I also develop feelings for friends, you know, feeling like attachments towards them and a protectiveness and a loyalty towards friends pretty quickly as well. I don't know, I just feel feelings deeply, and I've always been that way. And on dates, I can tell you within 5 minutes whether I'm wasting my time or whether this is somebody that I could spend the rest of my life with. And when a week or two had gone by and I wasn't bored of Alex, and I'm like, damn, I really like him, like I really want to be with him, I knew like that was, and the thing was, is that Alex was not, he didn't, like when we both got together, neither one of us wanted to be in long-term relationships, neither one of us. But then after being with him for a week or two, I started like, you know, I was sitting there thinking, okay, am I moving to Colorado? Or am I staying here? You know? Like if I'm staying here, is he going to be the reason that I stay here? You know, I was 35. He was, you know, well, at that point he would have been 24. And so, no, I was 36. He was 24. And he wasn't in any position to want to settle down, you know, at that point. And then I think we just clicked so well that first year, and we just, and you know what was so funny was, like, people, our friends would say to us, like, you guys don't make sense, but you totally make sense. Like, we're complete opposites in every possible way. You know? And yet, somehow we made sense. And it worked. And, you know, and it's been a tough road. I mean, it has not been easy. I don't think that any marriage or any relationship that is worth its value is easy. I've never met somebody that is really proud of their relationship or their marriage that said, oh, it's so easy, like we've never had a fight. I mean, when people say that they don't fight in relationships, that I don't understand that. Like, you've never had a disagreement. Like, there's never been a philosophical belief that you've felt so strongly about that your partner doesn't believe in or what, you know what I mean? Like, you've never gotten into an argument, seriously, ever? Oh, we never argue. Well, we have. We don't argue the same way that we used to. You know, we don't scream and shout anymore. I mean, we communicate and we talk to one another. We don't say hurtful things, which we have in the past. And we try to talk to each other and give each other our space while we're, you know, all that. But we had to work really hard on our marriage, you know, and now we've been together 13, going on 14 years now. And we've been married 10, going on 11 years. And I look at a lot of our friends that we've met through the years, and they've long ago gotten divorced or went their separate ways. And I'm just like, I never thought, I would never, ever, ever, ever have thought that we would still be together. Never. Never, 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 never. And what's interesting to me too is, well, Melissa and Jason, we met the year that we got married, so they did make sense to me as a couple. But our other two friends that, like two of our other friends that are couples, that one we were in their wedding, and the other one, we've just known them for a long time. Like, they don't really make sense either, and they're like, the ages are kind of very similar to that. Well, one of them, he is, yeah, I mean, the ages aren't the separation. They're not 12 years, but there is an age difference between the two. And for both of our couple friends. And they aren't relationships that you would think like would typically make sense. And they do, like, they work. You know, so I don't know that it, like, on paper has to make sense. I don't know, and I don't know why we're still here and other people aren't. I think that we weren't willing to give up. I can say that it wasn't about staying in a relationship that was making us miserable, because I think that was the question, was that we got to a point where we're like, are we staying in a relationship that we're miserable just to say we're in a relationship? and we're not gonna work on this, or are we gonna work on this? And that was where Alex was like, if we don't go to counseling, we're gonna get divorced. And I was like, okay, we're going to counseling, because I was terrified of getting divorced. That's not true. I shouldn't say I was terrified of getting divorced. I wasn't terrified of getting divorced. At that time, I was so codependent. I couldn't imagine my life without Alex in it. Today, I can't imagine my life without my husband in it. I adore my husband. I can't even imagine my life without him. But the difference is that back then, I don't know that I knew how I would survive if I didn't. Like, I didn't know who I was if I wasn't defined as Peter and Alex. Today, I know that I'm not that. Today, I have a lot of my own interest, as does my husband. You know, it's important for each of us to have our own independence and within our relationship and our own interests, that we can get excited about the other person and things like that, because I didn't have that, you know, and I didn't have that in any of my relationships. I defined myself by needing to have that other person, you know. And what I learned in counseling, one of the many things I learned in marriage counseling, was that, you know, I'm not with my husband because I have to have him, or I'm going to die if I don't have him, or that movie stuff that they say, like, you know, I talk about this like in Jerry Maguire, where, you know, you complete me kind of BS, which I think that's nice sentiment. But really what it's about is that I choose to be with him and he chooses to be with me. And I think that's more powerful, honestly. You know? I'd rather be with somebody that chose to be with me than somebody that was dependent on me, you know? I love my husband. And then I think it also makes it worth it even more when you work hard on stuff together, you know? And that doesn't mean that you ever stop working on it. I mean, we have to work on stuff all the time, you know? So, man, I've been all over the place. Old apartments, getting sober, old roommates. Alex and I, when I first dated, I have been all over the place in this vlog tonight. So, I'm going to get off here now, and I'm going to listen to a little bit of my audiobook. I mean, it's late. I don't know that I'm going to stay up to finish the whole thing tonight, but I'm going to listen to a little bit of it, and I hope that you guys are having I have to say this first. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Wednesday. Happy birthday, Elena. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Happy birthday, Elena. Love ya.